Since I have no job now, I have no place to live either. To be honest, I didn't dare to go back to my parents' home because I lost my job and I didn't want to make them worry. The only thing that makes me feel very lucky is that I still have a car. So I plan to just stay in the car for the next few nights until I find a job. Friends in Shanghai, if I am temporarily unemployed now, with no job and no income, do you think there is any other way to save money besides eating instant noodles? China's economy continues to be sluggish, the employment environment is getting worse, and millions of college graduates are facing survival problems, with some forced to take low-paying jobs. Some employees have difficulty finding jobs after being laid off by their companies. The uncertainty of their lives makes them feel anxious, and some are forced to start delivering food. In Shanghai, the economic center, business bankruptcies and layoffs are also quite common. Let's talk about related topics today. You may not believe the current situation in Shanghai. Many large companies in Shanghai are laying off employees, cutting salaries, and retrenching, and many small companies are teetering on the brink of losses and bankruptcy. Yesterday, I had dinner with a friend who said that he and his wife were going back to their hometown in Shandong to develop their careers, and tonight would be our last meal together. I was stunned for a moment and asked, "You and your wife have lived in Shanghai for so many years. Are you able to get used to going back to your hometown now?" He said that his family now doesn't even dare to have hot pot. The monthly mortgage of 15,000 yuan is so stressful that they can hardly breathe. The work efficiency is low and the salary is not increasing but decreasing. Even so, they are still worried about layoffs. "I want to sell my house, but the price keeps dropping every day. Even if someone wants to buy it, I have to pay the bank tens of thousands of yuan extra." Experts on the internet say every day that ordinary people are not consuming intentionally. It's not that ordinary people are unwilling to consume. Nowadays, most people's pockets are cleaner than their faces. When you see data on the internet about average deposits of tens of thousands, many people are included in the average, including me. In fact, after paying the monthly mortgage and household living expenses, there is basically not a penny left at the end. This is the current situation. I have a master's degree and I have been unemployed for 40 days and still haven't found a job. I want to talk to you about the recent employment environment in Shanghai. It is indeed a bit bad, which is beyond my expectations. The second company is a relatively small enterprise. Maybe I didn't meet the requirements in some way, so I have no news from that company. I asked about the interview results, but the HR did not give any response. The third one was a lecturer position at a Shanghai vocational and technical school. My girlfriend saw this position in an HR group. The salary would be very low, around 7,000 to 8,000 yuan. But because the teachers in the school have winter and summer vacations, it might be a good opportunity, so I sent in my resume and gave it a try. The blogger said that after he submitted his resume, he went for an interview that afternoon. The school only interviewed him for more than 10 minutes and kept asking him whether he could accept the salary, as it was only 7,000 to 8,000 yuan. In order to get the job, he said he was mentally prepared. However, he has not received any notification from the school so far. He said he didn't have much hope for this job because the salary was indeed much lower than before. Is the current employment environment in Shanghai so bad? I just interviewed with a company and the initial discussions went pretty well. The interviewer said he was satisfied with me, but then a problem arose. The interviewer asked me if I would accept overtime work. I thought it was just a formality, so I answered using a template. Unexpectedly, the interviewer interrupted me and said that the company's projects have been very busy, and I would usually have to get off work at around 8 or 9 o'clock, and I would have to work overtime on weekends. I asked, is there any overtime pay or compensatory leave for working overtime on weekends? The interviewer said that this can be discussed, and if you really have something to do, you will be allowed to take time off. I'm going crazy. Doesn't this mean that there will be no compensatory leave and I have to work overtime? I really wanted to curse at him at that time. In the past, workers in Shanghai basically had 2 days off a week. There was no job with only 1 day off a week, except in the service industry. Blogger Little Bear Practitioner said that some of her friends lost their jobs and asked her about the employment environment in Shanghai. How to say it? In fact, the recent employment environment in Shanghai is not good, and there is no reason to be optimistic. Many small companies may go bankrupt if they can't hold on, And we can also see that many large companies are laying off employees on a large scale. Since I used to work in the internet industry, I've been following its job market closely these past few days. Now, it seems there are barely any opportunities for people over 35. Almost every position requires candidates to be under that age. Society also holds certain biases against women. I've seen many cases. Married women without children often get ignored. With one child, employers fear they'll have another. With two, they worry the woman won't have energy for both work and family. Today is my first day of unemployment, but I haven't told my parents or children. Only my wife knows. I need time to process it before breaking the news. I followed my usual morning routine, got up at 7, shaved, washed up, exercised, and had breakfast. White porridge, eggs, and pan-fried buns. But I felt nothing. To avoid raising suspicion, I left home at the usual time but had nowhere to go. I ended up at KFC where I could charge my phone, use free internet, and start sending out resumes. At lunch, I didn't return home. I ate at a local community kitchen for under 10 yuan. In the afternoon, I tried to nap at the library but found no seats, so I went to Education City. After an hour of searching, I found power and internet and continued applying for jobs. By 7 p.m., I didn't want to go home alone, so I waited for my wife. Only then did I feel like my workday was over. This is my first day unemployed. Blogger Sister Ching Ching said that she quit several jobs in the past 2 months because she found these jobs unbearable. My first job was in the new media department of a yoga studio. I helped them shoot videos. The workload was not bad, but the equipment they had simply could not produce the effect they wanted. If he says the photos I took aren't bright enough, that's fine. What I find most unbearable is that the office is undecorated, has no windows, and is only about 6 or 7 square meters. The lights are dim, and the room is filled with clutter. I felt like I was in prison in there. My second job was in the new media department of a law firm. It sounded impressive, but they thought I was too slow. On the first day, I had to write 2 Xiaohongshu articles, without training or legal background, which was tough. I finished one by mid-afternoon, and the supervisor told the boss I was inefficient. He suggested moving me to video work, thinking I was better at that. I declined, feeling I couldn't keep up with their pace. The third job was as an admissions teacher at a technical school, involving live streams, customer service, outreach, and sales. I was fine with the work, but they asked me to buy a work phone and tripod. I'm unemployed. Should I take out a loan just to work? That I couldn't accept. A middle-aged couple are both unemployed. What kind of life does their family of 4 live in Shenzhen? In the second half of last year, my husband and I both lost our jobs and had no source of income. At the time, the family had a mortgage of more than 2 million yuan to pay and 2 sons to raise. It seemed as if their entire life was disrupted in an instant. Some advised us to sell the house and return to our hometown. My husband considered it for a long time, but I strongly opposed it, and he gave up. Going back means our kids would repeat our old path. I worked hard to pass the college entrance exam and settle in a big city. Leaving now would make all our efforts over the past decade meaningless. Plus, selling the house now wouldn't bring much, and readjusting to life back home would be tough. Since we chose to stay in Shenzhen, I'll focus on job hunting and avoid buying anything non-essential.
In recent years, China's economy has continued to decline. Impacted by the real estate industry, the banking sector is now in crisis. Recently, several bank branches in China have faced difficulties with cash withdrawals, leading to dissatisfaction among depositors. Regarding the reduction of bank card transfer limits, many users believe that banks are deliberately making it harder for funds to flow out by setting such limits. According to a recent report by Shell Finance of the Beijing News, many bank card users reported that their bank card limits were restricted without their knowledge. Some people visited bank branches to increase their credit limits in order to use their bank cards normally, but some cardholders ultimately gave up using them altogether. Since the second half of this year, numerous banks have issued announcements stating they will adjust the non-counter transaction limits of some personal bank settlement accounts. These announcements mentioned financial institutions such as the Bank of China, China Construction Bank, Agricultural Bank of China, and Jiangxi Bank. Regarding the reduction of bank card transfer limits, Many users believe this is a deliberate move by banks to prevent funds from flowing out by setting strict limits. However, bank personnel explained that the measure primarily aims to prevent telecommunications fraud. Despite this, all affected bank card users reported that their non-counter transfer limits were lowered without notification, and the bank did not send SMS notifications became a common complaint. One affected user, Li Yun, said she did not expect her salary card to be suddenly restricted. In July this year, she originally planned to withdraw reimbursement funds from the Bank of China, tens of thousands of yuan, but both the transfer and ATM withdrawal failed because the daily transfer limit was exceeded. Unexpectedly, another Jiangxi Bank Class 1 card under her name, primarily used for mortgage payments, was also restricted in July and August. Li Yun had used these two bank cards for many years without previously encountering any transfer or ATM withdrawal limits. However, both banks had now set a daily mobile transfer limit of 2,000 yuan on her cards without notifying her. Li Yun said, "The Bank of China staff initially told me to go to the branch with my ID to handle it. But when I arrived at the branch near my home, they said I needed to visit the branch where I opened the account." She couldn't complete the process that day because the branch was closed, and it took her a month to successfully increase her credit limit. According to a report by Shanghai radio and television station Canton News on the 14th, recently, some bank card users reported that their personal bank card transfer limits were reduced without their knowledge. Some users said they could not even transfer 1,000 yuan. These customers believe that banks are limiting non-counter transactions to prevent funds from leaving. In January this year, Zhupai News reported that a woman in Pingdingshan City, Henan Province, said her sister had transferred money to her and asked her to withdraw 5,000 yuan for a New Year's red envelope, but she encountered issues while withdrawing the money at Zhongyuan Bank. Ms. Wang, the individual involved, said that the staff initially asked her to download an anti-fraud app, and she cooperatively answered all their questions. However, they began asking more personal questions, including where her sister worked and where she had worked previously, and even asked her to prove her sister was a biological relative. After calling the police, it took nearly 2 hours to complete the withdrawal. Similarly, according to Poster News, a woman in Jiangxi posted on social media that she went to a bank with 100,000 yuan in cash for a fixed deposit, but the bank staff unexpectedly asked about the origin of the money. The woman said she thought, "Why does it matter where my money comes from? Just follow my instructions." She felt it made her look like she had stolen the money. When she asked why they questioned her, they responded that it was bank policy. In response, some netizens commented, "The banking system really needs reform. The service attitude varies greatly. When depositing money, they treat you like a VIP, but when withdrawing, it's a different story."